Peter and I have been famous nemesis. Everyone in our circle knows we've been at odds for years. I thought we'd avoid each other for the rest of our lives. But then one day, we ended up in the same bed. Waking up and seeing each other's faces made us both furious. I threw down $200 and said, "You're nothing great, all looks but no substance, short and weak." He clenched his teeth, clearly pissed. "You think you're any better?" I thought I was with a corpse last night. We left angry, deciding to never speak of it again. But then, nobody expected I got pregnant. At a banquet the other night, I accidentally drank the wrong drink and felt hot all over. In a haze, I somehow ended up taking a man home. He had a faint sandalwood scent when he picked me up. In my days, I thought he looked a bit like my nemesis, Peter. But I quickly dismissed that idea. There's no way it was Peter, he'd never treat me that well. He'd rather see me embarrassed. I have no clue how I got home. All I remember is clinging to the guy like a snake, feeling every part of him, his chest, legs, his Adam's apple, and mouth. Though he stayed indifferent, barely speaking, I could tell he was tense and breathing heavily. Once in the room, my hands wandered aimlessly down his abs. Then, he suddenly grabbed my hand, said something in a deep raspy voice, but I didn't catch it. Everything else from that night is a blank. It was an intense night. When I woke up, someone was beside me, their breath warm on my neck. His hand was firmly around my waist, fingers long and pale, with visible veins. I held my breath, heart pounding. Could my dignity be gone just like that? I was on the verge of tears. Swallowing hard, I slowly turned to face reality. Seeing the guy's face next to me, I was shocked. How could it be Peter? "Don't move, sleep a bit more." Peter pulled me closer, holding me tighter. I resisted the urge to kick him off. Could this bastard have mistaken me for someone else? The thought just pissed me off more. "Peter." I kicked him under the covers. He shot up instantly, hair a mess on his forehead, eyes half open, abs on display. Good build though. Not that it mattered since he's Peter, someone I can't stand. When he saw me, he frowned slightly, displeased. "Why is it you?" I chuckled in disbelief. He's unhappy now? I should be asking that. I was drunk last night and couldn't see a thing, but there's no way you didn't know it was me, right? Peter didn't get angry at being called out. He raised an eyebrow, all casual. "Oh, I was drunk too, didn't notice." I smirked. Does he take me for a fool? But I didn't say anything more. Peter's the king of stubbornness, I can't win against him. Looking at the mess around, my head throbbed. My head, back, and legs all hurt. I sighed. Whatever, I'll just pretend I got bitten by a dog. He was pretty good anyway, no big loss for me. I quickly got a hold of my emotions, ready to leave. When I looked up, Peter was watching me, amused. "You were pretty eager last night, biting and all. Wouldn't still have feelings for me, would you?" How can he say these things so shamelessly? Peter and I are enemies. Everyone thinks we can't stand each other. Nobody knows we once had a messy affair. That's not worth mentioning. I kept my cool, laughed lightly. "You're overthinking it. I had no clue it was you last night. Could have been anyone." Before he could reply, I stared him down, enunciating each word. "Anyway, you're just average at best, short and weak." Peter lost it. "Short, weak? Joanna, you dare say that again?" Last night, who was the one crying and begging to stop? Seeing the colorful marks on his chest made me blush, feeling guilty but stubborn. I'd say it again, came back with the same answer. "Can't believe you enjoy hearing it, short, weak." Peter jumped out of bed. "You weren't any better, last night you were so stiff, I thought I was with a corpse." I shrugged. "Oh, so you could still do it, huh?" "Here," I pulled 200 out of my purse, tossed it on the bed. "This is for your trouble, no need to thank me." For a moment, the air was tense. Peter stared daggers at me, full of a murderous vibe. "Joanna, don't let me see you again. At home, I checked the mirror, seeing the glaring marks on my neck. Peter went all out last night. I almost didn't make it through. Flashes of last night came back and I shook my head. We were insane. Especially since he has a girlfriend, and I have someone I'm supposed to be marrying. Checking my phone, I saw my friend Jane called me several times last night, but I didn't answer. When I called her back, she picked up immediately, worried. Joanna, where did you go last night? I couldn't find you anywhere. I wasn't feeling well and left early. Sorry, Jane, I didn't get a chance to tell you. Joanna, as long as you're okay, you wouldn't believe it, but Peter disappeared last night too. I thought you two left together. My heart skipped a beat, feeling guilty. No way, Peter and I together? Not happening. After that disastrous end, Peter and I kept our lips sealed about the whole situation. A rare show of agreement. But our friends still don't know how awkward it is between us now, irritating when we see each other. They keep trying to push us together. At a gathering, a friend teased, after all these years, why are you two still like oil and water? Yeah, I'm curious, what's the beef? Peter, legs crossed, lounged lazily, answering casually, ask her. His words piqued everyone's interest, all eyes on me. Someone joked, Joanna, could it be a love thing? I nearly spat out my drink. No, I replied calmly. So what is it then? Maybe our personalities don't align, I threw out a random excuse. They kept probing but I quickly changed the subject to avoid more questions. In the dark, I heard Peter laugh. After that, the two of us didn't say a word to each other. Everybody was playing games together. I lost, so I had to drink. I can't hold my liquor well, so after 2 drinks, I was buzzing, with flushed cheeks. Someone noticed something was off and asked if I needed a break. I didn't want to ruin the fun for everyone, so I kept quiet. But I just couldn't win at the game. I kept losing. I had quite a few drinks, and with the last one, I suddenly felt nauseous. I felt like I might throw up. That's when Peter took the glass from my hand, saying in a low voice, if you can't drink, don't force it. You'll end up drunk again. Remembering that night, Peter had a point. So I let it go, murmuring a soft yeah. The room was dim, hard to see who was who. Someone took the chance to tease, Peter's finally protecting someone, huh? One of Peter's buddies bumped his arm, joking, when did Peter start covering drinks for others? Peter casually raised his eyebrows, just learned, anything else? That made the teasing grow louder, more people watching the scene unfold. I was just about to say something when a girl stood up in the middle, walking over to me. Joanna, if you can't drink, don't. Last time at the party, you got drunk and clung to Peter, scared us a lot. If Betty saw it, she'd be upset. That made the room fall silent for a moment, no one daring to speak. I looked up and recognized the girl as Luna, Betty's close friend. And Betty is Peter's girlfriend now. I almost forgot, Peter has a girlfriend. That night was indeed a bit inappropriate. Blame the jerk who slipped me something. Otherwise, how could I lose my wits and be swayed by a handsome face? I composed myself and explained to Luna, last time was an accident, it won't happen again. You can tell Betty I'm not interested in Peter. Worried she might not believe me, I added, Peter isn't interested in me either. Hearing this, Peter let out a cold chuckle, at least you know your place. Luna glanced between us, looking conflicted. Before she could say more, someone noticed things were getting tense and tried to ease the situation. Yeah, everyone can see, Joanna's all about her career, and Peter's not a player. Both of them spoke their piece. Luna, no need to worry. Betty hasn't said anything, why stress over it? This made Luna's face change color, embarrassed, she sat back. After that, I moved further away from Peter, keeping some distance. Peter gave me a faint glance, is that necessary? I nodded firmly. His aura grew colder, but I ignored it. The party continued, but I wasn't really into it. My stomach felt worse. In the middle of it, I took a sip of juice, only feeling more queasy. I couldn't take it, so I rushed to the bathroom. Tried to vomit but nothing came up, just kept heaving. No way, my tolerance isn't this bad, right? I've drunk before and never felt this way. Something flashed in my mind. I just remembered I haven't had my period in over a month. Crap. Could it be? But I took the pill, how is this possible? The more I thought, the more anxious I got. Rushing out of the bathroom, I accidentally crashed into something solid. Pain shot through, and I looked up to see it was Peter. His eyes were calm, giving me a look like I was clueless, in a hurry to be born. Can't even watch where you're going? His words are sharp. Honestly, I wasn't in the mood to see his face right now. Feeling stressed, I rubbed my head, snapped, "What are you doing here?" "What? I can't be here." Honestly speechless. "Never mind, not worth it." But Peter didn't seem to want to let it go, raising an eyebrow. "Why so quiet?" Or are you so eager to throw yourself at me?" I stared at him, shocked. How can he say such things? "Peter, you seem to have a lot of girls into you these past few years." "Of course. Why ask? You want to pursue me? Want me to skip the line for you?" He's good at getting under my skin. Furious, I gritted my teeth. I never had that thought. The bathroom was getting busy. Peter didn't look like he wanted to use it but didn't leave either. I didn't plan to linger with him. Putting some distance between us, I said, "I have to go, please tell them for me, thanks." Peter shoved his hands in his pockets, looking nonchalant. "Let me give you a ride." "No need, it'll give people the wrong idea." "Wrong idea?" Peter chuckled. "You're something else. Why didn't you worry about misunderstandings when you kissed me that night?" He really knows how to hit a sore spot. Then it hit me. Looking at him seriously, I asked, "Peter, do you still like me?" Peter paused, looking at me. "Either way, it's impossible between us," I said. Peter snorted. "You think too highly of yourself. I don't go back to past relationships." "Good." I shot back. Once again, things ended on a bad note. Remembering, 3 years ago was the same. 3 years back, Peter and I were at the same college. I was young, loved handsome guys, my eyes lit up at the sight of one. That's when I met Peter. He was exactly my type, handsome and indifferent, pulling me in completely. So I boldly pursued him, day and night, for 3 days straight. Maybe it was my stunning beauty that won him over. We quickly fell deep, head over heels for each other. When we were really into it, I found out, our families were enemies. My grandpa would chase his grandpa down 10 streets with a stick. My heart couldn't handle the thought of my grandpa finding out I was with his lifelong rival's grandson. To avoid a crisis, before anyone found out, I broke up with Peter. On the breakup day, it was raining. We fought hard. He said, "Joanna, if I ever like you again, I'm a dog." One night, he let go of his pride, with tears in his eyes, asking me to get back together. I said coldly, "Peter, it's not gonna happen, not in this lifetime. Don't come looking for me again." And since then, he never did. When we run into each other, we're just like strangers. I thought we'd go our whole lives without crossing paths, but every project I'm on somehow ends up involving Peter. He's always against me. Even our friends are curious, wondering why we never met yet just can't stand each other. I guess you could say we're doomed. Really, in the end, it's a love that can't be. At home, I rushed to test myself with the pregnancy kit I got from the pharmacy. Seeing those 2 red lines threw me off. All I kept thinking was, where am I? Who am I? What am I supposed to do? I stood there, stunned for ages, unable to snap out of it. It's a tricky situation. To be sure, I went to the hospital for a checkup the next day. After the checkup, I felt like blacking out, my suspended heart finally dropped. Walking out of the doctor's office, I felt down, and then ran into Betty surprisingly. Joanna? What are you doing here? Betty gave me a once-over, her eyes landing on the pregnancy report in my hand. Her voice filled with shock. You're pregnant? Please keep it to yourself for now. I'd rather not have too many people know, I said. Betty's expression stiffened awkwardly. Okay, sure. As I was about to leave, Betty called me after some hesitation. Joanna, why isn't the baby's dad here with you? He's dead, I said firmly. At the office, Peter was wrangling with papers, sneezing repeatedly. Betty relaxed a little. I see, take care of yourself. Peter's waiting outside for me, I've got to go. Watching Betty walk away, I sighed deeply. I'm torn about keeping the baby because there's no way Peter and I could be together. I told Jane about my pregnancy. Eyes wide like dinner plates, Jane exclaimed, no way. You got yourself in this big mess behind my back. Spill it. I gave her the rundown. After that, looking at her like a little kid, pretty much sums it up. Wait, you didn't say who the dad is, Jane demanded, eyes piercing through me. Well, I couldn't dodge the bullet. I'm nearly in tears. Stammering nervously, Peter. Jane shot up from the couch, voice booming like a megaphone. What? You and Peter, you actually? I face-bombed with a wry smile. Yes, we have a child. I then recapped everything to Jane about the whole ordeal with Peter. Jane recovered from her deep shock. Looking all wise, she mused, Joanna, I bet Peter's still got a thing for you. I always thought he seemed off with you. Remember that gala? Sam wanted your number. Peter wouldn't give it and trashed the idea of being interested in you to Sam. Argued him out of pursuing you. And I just swooped in and gave your number to Sam. Thinking back now, isn't it possible Peter still likes you? I paused, surprised to learn that Peter had the nerve to block my love life. But rethink it, and it just couldn't be. He's got a girlfriend, why would he still be into me? I chuckled, no way, he stopped liking me ages ago. Besides, he's with someone now. Jane sighed, you seriously not gonna tell Peter? Not planning on it. Jane asked, how can I help you then? Can't exactly say this kid's mine, I joked hesitantly. Her quip gave me a whole new perspective. Eyes brightening, why not? I teased. Joanna, have you lost it, or did I? No way, I won't let you wreck my clean slate like that. Well, there goes that plan. Spent days sulking, totally stuck. But soon, snapped out of worrying about this pregnancy. It's just having a child, right? I can raise them, play both roles, father and mother. I'm loaded, no big deal. Manage a good life myself for my baby. Come on, at my age, I could have a kid just for fun. Kinda nice, huh? Thinking like this brightened my mood. Back to work, business as usual. Hustling on projects like always. I didn't tell anyone but Jane. Avoided Peter everywhere I could. Staying outside his 5 feet radius. But somehow, ended up facing Peter on this new project. We clashed, both relentless. Peter smirking, give it up, you don't stand a chance. Rolling my eyes, how would you know? Overestimating yourself much. While we're battling it out. Luna walks up, hangs onto Peter's arm all cozied up. Peter, where are we eating tonight? Glancing at me, Peter coyly grinned at her, let's hit that new spot. Turning away, I felt a tinge of annoyance. Can't stand that guy, just awful. Annoying, and upsetting somehow. Then, a call from David who's supposed to be overseas. Joanna, I'm back. For the project, headed out for a field inspection. There goes Peter again. Is he bad luck or what? Why every time I try to avoid him, there he is. Led through the warehouse by the project head, checked the stock. Negotiations began. Peter's every term beat ours, just so smug about it. Nearly lost it, wishing I could smack him right there. During a break, decided to recheck the stock, bump up the budget. But leaving, the door slammed shut, total darkness. Locked in, lights out, scared stiff. Not too far away, I suddenly hear footsteps. I jump, startled. Who's there? A tall shadow looms over me, and a clear, pleasant voice rings from above. Don't be afraid, it's just me. Peter. It's like I've found a lifeline, and I quickly grab his sleeve. Can you stay with me? I've been afraid of the dark since I was a kid. Yeah. Peter and I sit on the ground with newspapers, saying nothing, just our soft breathing filling the silence. The warehouse manager probably took a break, so it might take them a while to find us, Peter says. Before I know it, I fall asleep. Ever since I got pregnant, I've been kind of sleepy a lot. When I wake up, I find myself leaning against Peter's shoulder. His black blazer is draped over me. That sharp side profile, that high nose bridge. I haven't seen him like this in so long. As I'm staring, Peter suddenly opens his eyes. Our eyes lock, and I quickly look away. Peter's lips curl up, enjoying the view. Are you? I wasn't. I'm not. Stop making stuff up. The atmosphere gets hot and my heart is racing anxiously. Later, the manager finally comes to open the door. That day, I was doing Pilates, and someone suddenly bursts in. Joanna, why didn't you tell me you're pregnant? Peter's tone is urgent, his face dark as a storm. How did he find out? I force myself to stay calm, taking a sip of water. Why should I tell you? It's got nothing to do with you. He laughs angrily. Nothing to do with me? Fine, nothing to do with me, so whose child is it? He puts his hands on his hips, pacing blazingly. Glancing at him standing beside me, I won't make you responsible, don't worry. Peter's face darkens even more. He says firmly, this isn't solely your decision. Joanna, don't think you can just deal with this on your own. I stop what I'm doing, looking at him. Then what do you want to do about it? Peter is silent for a while, a hoarse voice. I'll think about it, give me some time. I smile a bit. Peter, even if I have the baby, I can raise it well on my own. My child doesn't need a father. Besides, I'm not sure I want to go through with having it. His eyes lock onto mine, tension hanging in the air. Deeply suppressed, he says, Joanna, you can't. I turn away. Peter, it's my right to decide. He hesitates. After a while, he speaks. Joanna, would you consider having the baby? You can hear the trembling in Peter's voice. Have the baby, and then what? We could get married. I look up at him. And what about Betty? Have you thought about this? It wouldn't be fair to her. It's not her fault. She shouldn't have to deal with the consequences. If marrying you means hurting someone else, I can't do it. So actually, the best outcome would be for me to abort. Peter is stunned. What does this have to do with Betty? Isn't she your girlfriend? I'm baffled. Peter crosses his arms, looking amused. Who told you Betty's my girlfriend? I'm in shock. Isn't that public knowledge? Betty's just a family friend's daughter. We're just friends. She's the one pursuing me. But you had dinner with her last time. Peter looks uncomfortable. Didn't happen. I eventually rejected her. And the party? Luna mentioned Betty. Why didn't you set her straight? Explain what, like I'm a court jester? Stand among a bunch of guys and announce Betty's not my girl. Don't get it twisted? That's ridiculous. I eye him suspiciously. You weren't just making a show for me, were you? Peter explodes. Of course not. I still didn't say yes to Peter. Peter, I won't marry you. We can talk about the baby later. As for what to do, I'll decide. He fumes there but eventually has to relent. Finally, he calms down, his gaze resting on my stomach. His look softens. Can I feel him? I pause, letting him place his broad hand on my belly. Peter's warm touch spreads over my stomach. My heartbeat quickens, a strange feeling I've never had before. I bite my lip, staring at the top of his head. Amazing, to think there's a life in there. He whispers, his voice full of wonder, like he's discovered a hidden treasure. The next day, David invites me out for dinner. David is my dad's carefully chosen candidate for arranged marriage, a genius physics professor, handsome and affluent, fresh back from overseas. Joanna, long time no see, David smiles warmly. Been a while. We're dining, making small talk, when I swear I see Peter not too far away. Turns out, it wasn't just me seeing things. Peter pulls me aside, his voice cold. Come with me. Why should I go with you? This is absurd. Peter laughs angrily. You're carrying my child, yet dining with another man? What, I can't. Is being pregnant a crime? Can't I even have a meal with someone else? Peter loses it. Fine, whatever, eat, enjoy your meal. So I do enjoy my meal. It's hard to get a reservation here, after all. Peter, instead, gets a seat nearby, watching us like a hawk. His stare gives me the creeps. I end the meal quickly. When I say goodbye to David, I decide to lay it all out. David, you don't need to invest in me emotionally. I probably can't go through with this arranged marriage. Why not? I'm pregnant. David stiffens. What if I say I'm fine with it? David, I'm sorry, you deserve better. Peter, off to the side, looks secretly pleased. Recently, I've been feeling dizzy a lot. I go to the hospital for a checkup and to get medication. Peter rushes over, his eyes red. Before I can speak, he looks completely shattered. Joanna, are you really this heartless? Can't you consider keeping the baby? I said I'd take responsibility. Why can't you just give me a chance? Am I really that awful? His raw emotion tugs at my heart. Last time I saw him like this was 3 years ago, on that rainy day we broke up. I felt bad for him, so I softly said, I never said I didn't want him. Peter froze, staring at me in shock. Aren't you here for an abortion? I'm just here to get some medicine. Peter laughed and cried at the same time. He pulled me into a tight hug. Joanna, let's keep him, okay? We'll be there for him together. I nodded. Secrets can't stay hidden forever. My pregnancy was discovered by both my grandpa and Peter's grandpa. Not that I planned on keeping it a secret. Once Peter's grandpa found out, he decided to swallow his pride and visit my grandpa to discuss marriage. Our families have had issues for a long time, even more intense than Peter and I ever had. If it wasn't for me and Peter, we'd probably still be enemies for life. When they met, neither grandpas looked happy. My grandson wants to marry your granddaughter. Think about it. It would be good for both families, said Peter's grandpa. Your grandson can keep dreaming. My Joanna won't marry into your family, my grandpa replied. Peter's grandpa tried to compromise. I'll offer you 20% of that South City project. No deal. I'll give you 5% of my company shares. No deal. No matter what Peter's grandpa offered, mine refused to budge. Enraged, Peter's grandpa snapped, You're such a stubborn old fool. The meeting ended without resolution. Grandpa looked at me and hesitated. Girl, oh girl. Grandpa, are you mad? He sighed. The cabbage I raised is gonna get snatched by a pig, huh? You decide your future. My granddaughter's happiness is priceless. I understood, Grandpa. After thinking it over, I chose not to tie myself to Peter through marriage. We've been apart for so long, everything's changed. He might not even have feelings for me anymore. Maybe all he wants is to take responsibility for the kid. I don't want that kind of messed up relationship. I want a partner who loves me and is loyal. When I brought it up to Peter, he seemed upset again. After thinking for a while, he said, We don't have to marry. But I want to be there when he's born. He's also my kid. What do you want? I'll move in with you in a couple of days. I want to make sure you're okay, so our baby can be healthy. You get it? I looked at him, hesitating. Let me think about it. But before I even agreed, early the next morning, he was at my doorstep with his suitcase. I haven't agreed yet. I blocked the door, looking wary. Peter looked at me, laughing. We've lived together before, I know what you like, your diet, and I can cook and clean. You won't have to do any chores. It's convenient and saves on nanny fees. Plus, our baby gets to see his handsome dad every day. It's perfect. He said so much, but somehow, I couldn't quite get it. Wait, what do you mean by that? I asked, confused. Peter blinked. It means I'll take care of you and our baby. Don't worry, after the baby's born, I'll leave. I won't cling to you. Was it just me, or did his last words seem a little sad? In the end, I don't even know how Peter ended up moving in with me so easily. Maybe he brainwashed me. Just like that, Peter barged into my life. After he moved in, I woke up to a full breakfast on the table and a clean house every day. He acted like such a good husband. That thought surprised me, and I shook my head quickly. Am I losing it? What am I thinking? Peter can't be my husband. The idea alone is terrifying. One day, while on a call with Jane, Peter finished cooking dinner. So, am I great or what? Peter smirked, looking for praise. Glancing at the delicious meal, I casually said, not too bad. Not too bad? I'm amazing. Joanna, you're just being stubborn. This new project I took needs travel. I hadn't told Peter, but somehow he knew where I'd be and showed up there. I was in the middle of negotiating when he walked in, surprising everyone. The boss across from us practically turned into a sycophant, nodding and bowing to Peter. Peter, what brings you here? Can't I come? Of course. Welcome, welcome. Your visit is such an honor. The sunlight was harsh on my eyes. I squinted. Suddenly, a shadow cast over me. Peter was by my side with an umbrella. Don't get it wrong, I just don't want my baby to get sun on them. I quickly realized he meant the baby inside me. Peter walked with the umbrella the whole way. Everyone around us was stunned, unable to believe the confident Peter could be so willing to hold an umbrella for someone else. One day, Peter brought home some odd things. I looked at him, confused. What's up with this stuff? I went with my mom to a temple today and prayed for our child's safety, and yours too, he replied, hanging an amulet around my neck. At 3 months pregnant, Peter returned from the store with a mountain of goods. Snacks, veggies, fruits, almost enough to fill a room. Did you buy out the whole store? I asked. I didn't say it was for you, he retorted. These are for my little one. Late at night, I got hungry and snuck downstairs. I headed to Peter's snack stash, grabbing chips and my favorite spicy strips. I was about to sneak back when I bumped into Peter. I gasped, "What are you doing here?" Leaning against the doorframe with a knowing smile, Peter said, "I thought you said you didn't eat this stuff." Caught off guard and unable to admit my cravings, I lamely pointed to my belly. It's him who's hungry. Not me. Peter raised an eyebrow and said smugly, "Do you want to eat it?" I resisted the urge to smack him. Just throwing caution to the wind, I said, "Yeah, I want it." "What's the big deal? Didn't you buy it for me to eat anyway?" Suddenly, Peter's tone softened. "Yes, eat more, you're too skinny. I bought it for you in the first place." I was taken aback. Even though I didn't want to admit it, my heart skipped a beat. But I kept up my front, "Do whatever you want. I don't care at all." Peter chuckled, his tone unexpectedly affectionate. "All right, you say you don't care, so you don't care." Out of nowhere, Jane called me in a panic, "Joanna, something happened to Peter." My heart skipped. What happened to him? Peter found a criminal outside the office this morning. When he tried to call the police, he got stabbed, lost a lot of blood, and is in the hospital. It seems pretty serious. Hearing that Peter got stabbed made my mind go blank, and I started shaking. I couldn't imagine the guy I was just arguing with this morning was now in the hospital. I hung up and rushed to the hospital. The whole way there, I kept telling myself Peter would be okay, there wouldn't be any surprises. It hit me then, how terrified I was of losing Peter. At the hospital, when I got to the room, the doctor was covering someone with a white sheet. Breaking down, tears streamed down my face. It felt like my world was collapsing, and I was overwhelmed with grief. I was crying so hard I didn't hear someone calling my name. Someone pulled me out of there and held my face. "Joanna, look at me. It's me." Peter's face appeared before me. Seeing his face made me cry even harder. "Peter?" "Joanna, I'm fine. Stop crying." It took me a while to calm down. Then I realized the person in the room wasn't Peter. I had cried over the wrong person. So embarrassing, that wasn't me just now. But seeing him safe, I felt relieved. I turned my face away awkwardly. I was only crying because I was worried our kid wouldn't have a dad. With tears staining my face, Peter smirked. "Joanna, admit it, you really care about me. Liking me is nothing to be ashamed of." Since that day, Peter often brought up how I liked him, looking all smug and victorious. I felt a bit downcast. Why does he always win? It's not fair. So I looked up, beaming at him. "Yeah, I like you. But don't you like me too?" Peter froze for a moment. Coming to, his ears turned a bit red. "Why, you're saying you like me? You admitted it?" I laughed. How could he be more innocent than me? I felt like teasing him. "Yeah, I've liked you all along." Peter's breathing got heavier, and his eyes locked on mine. "Really?" I shrugged, too tired to keep up the act. "Nah, just kidding." Peter slightly gritted his teeth, with a look that said he'd like to kill me but couldn't. "Joanna, you're a real piece of work. But damn, I'm stuck on you for life. I'm swamped with projects at work, almost drowning in it all." While I was working overtime, Peter suddenly leaned over. He looked at me with that knowing look. "Joanna, did you forget something?" I had no time for him, dismissing. "Stop messing around. I need to finish working. This case is super important for us. Talk tomorrow." Peter stopped talking, wandered around my room, and eventually brought me some milk. Close to 1 a.m, I finally met the deadline. Looking over, I saw Peter had fallen asleep beside me, looking so peaceful, like a serene moment frozen in time. He looked like a sweet little husband, and I chuckled. But soon, my laughter faded. I finally remembered that yesterday was Peter's birthday. My mind spun. How could I forget? No wonder he asked if I had forgotten something yesterday. I planned a surprise to make it up to Peter. I cooked him a homemade feast. Peter seemed both surprised and delighted. Even though the dishes looked pretty ordinary, they were full of my heart's effort. After dinner, Peter's face started looking worse, even though he kept a forced smile, making me think he really liked it. "Is it good?" I asked excitedly. "Delicious." With wine glasses on the table, the two of us cozied up on the couch, watching a rom-com we loved back in college. When the male lead kissed the female lead, I grinned and asked Peter, "Do you have any other wishes?" Peter held a soft smile. "Joanna, I want to kiss you." Then, he leaned in and gently kissed me, tenderly savoring the moment. Moonlight poured in from the window, casting a glow on everything. Lately, Peter's been pushing things more and more, always wanting to be close. I grew irritated, shooting him a glare. He nuzzled my face, looking all pitiful. "Babe, when can I be official?" "Ugh, I know I shouldn't expect too much, but all I want is a label." What's so wrong about that? Peter's such a character, putting on a whole act. I thought for a second, if when our kid's born next summer, the first word they say is, "Daddy," then I'll marry you.